The giant room was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. Hundreds of different alien beings sat in floating chairs that moved around a huge circle. Some looked like tall blue people with 4 arms. Others were made of crystal that sparkled. In the light, a few were just clouds of gas floating in clear boxes. They were all here for one reason, to talk about the newest species that wanted to join their club. Ambassador Zethgri stood up from his chair. He was from a race called the Hegemony. His people looked like large lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had ruled many star systems for thousands of years. When he spoke, his voice was loud and clear through the room's speakers. "Friends from across the galaxy," Zethgri said, "we are here to talk about these creatures called humans. They live on a small blue planet called Earth. They want to trade with us and join our group." A big screen appeared in the air above them. It showed pictures of Earth, green land, blue oceans, white clouds. Then it showed human cities with tall buildings and busy roads. The aliens looked at the pictures without much interest. They had seen hundreds of planets like this before. "Look at their technology," Zethgri continued. "Their fastest ships can barely travel between stars. It takes them months to go places we can reach in days. Their weapons are very basic. They still use explosives and simple energy beams." The screen changed to show human weapons. There were missiles that flew through space and exploded. There were laser guns that shot bright beams of light. There were plasma cannons that fired hot balls of energy. All of these weapons looked very normal to the aliens. Every young space-traveling race had weapons like these. A crystalline being called Vorthak spoke up. When crystal people talked, their bodies rang like bells. "These humans seem very ordinary. They have the same weapons as every other new species. Nothing special about them at all." "Exactly," said Zethgri. "They are not dangerous. They are not advanced. They are just another primitive race that learned how to travel between stars." The screen kept showing more human technology. The aliens saw pictures of human factories making cars and computers. They saw human power plants that made electricity. They saw human farms growing food. Everything looked simple and basic compared to alien technology. But hidden in all the data was something the aliens missed. Deep in the lists of human weapons was something called railguns. The alien computers put these in the same group as all the other human projectile weapons. After all, railguns just shot pieces of metal. How dangerous could that be when the galaxy had energy shields and weapons? That could destroy whole planets? A gas form being from the nebulae spoke next. Its voice sounded like wind blowing through caves. "I have read their military reports. They have something they call electromagnetic accelerators, but the energy levels are very low, much lower than our particle beam weapons." "Yes," agreed another alien. "These railguns they mentioned shoot metal slugs. Very primitive. Our shields can stop anything they could possibly fire at us." Zethgri nodded his large reptilian head. "The humans also sent us their military numbers. They have about 200 ships that can travel between stars. We have thousands. They have weapons that can destroy buildings. We have weapons that can crack planets in half." The aliens all laughed at this. The sound was strange. Some clicked, some hummed, some made. Sounds like breaking glass. They had seen this pattern so many times before. A new species would learn to travel in space. They would have basic weapons and simple technology. Then, over hundreds of years, they would slowly get better and maybe become useful members of galactic society. "I propose we give them restricted trading rights," said Zethgri. "They can set up small trading posts in the outer regions of the galaxy, far away from anything important. They can buy basic technology from us and sell us their simple goods." This was exactly what the aliens always did with new species. It was like giving a child a small allowance. The humans could play at being galactic traders, but they could not do anything that mattered. A hive-mind species, called the Collective, spoke with one voice from 1,000 small creatures. We agree. The humans are not a threat. They are not advanced. They can have limited access to galactic trade. All in favor? Asked Zethkri. Every alien in the room raised a hand, tentacle, crystal spike, or glowing light. The vote was unanimous. The humans would get basic trading, rights, and nothing more. What the aliens did not understand was that humans thought about war differently than everyone else in the galaxy. Most alien species developed energy weapons because they were flashy and impressive. They built energy shields because energy weapons were common. They created a balance where attacking and defending were equally matched. But humans had spent their entire history fighting each other. They had learned that the best weapon was not the prettiest or the most advanced. The best weapon was the one that worked. And kinetic energy, the energy of moving objects, had always worked very well for humans. While aliens built better energy, shields, humans built better ways to throw rocks really fast. The meeting ended with everyone feeling good about themselves. They had discovered another primitive species and generously offered to help them join galactic civilization. The humans would be grateful for this opportunity. They would slowly advance their technology over the centuries. Eventually, they might even become useful. As the aliens filed out of the meeting room, they chatted about other things. Trade disputes between the Vorthan crystal mines and the hegemony. Border conflicts in the Andromeda spiral. The usual politics of running a galaxy with thousands of different species. None of them thought about humans again that day. Meanwhile, billions of light years away, human engineers were working on their newest railgun designs. These weapons could accelerate small pieces of metal to incredible speeds, much faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. The humans did not know it yet, but they were about to change everything. The galaxy had made its first mistake. They looked at human technology and saw primitive weapons. They did not see that humans had solved the fundamental problem of war itself. While everyone else was trying to build better shields, humans had built spears that no shield could stop. But that discovery would come later. For now, the galaxy continued its normal routine. Trade flowed between the star systems. Diplomats made deals and signed treaties. Military fleets patrolled their borders and kept the peace. And somewhere in the Outer Rim territories, a small blue planet called Earth prepared to show the galaxy what real warfare looked like. The aliens thought they were being generous by allowing humans into their exclusive club. They thought they were being smart by keeping humans away from important systems. They thought they understood exactly what kind of threat humans represented. They were wrong about everything. In the coming months, human trading ships would spread throughout the galaxy. Human diplomats would visit alien worlds and study their technology. Human engineers would see galactic defenses and smile quietly to themselves. Because while the aliens saw humans as primitive and harmless, humans saw the galaxy as a target-rich environment with completely inadequate defenses. The war had not started yet. Most beings in the galaxy did not even know there would be a war. But the first shot had already been fired in the council chamber when the aliens decided that humans were not worth taking seriously. It would be the last mistake many of them would ever make. Dr. Sarah Chun stood at the big window of the UES Endeavour and watched the most amazing sight she had ever seen. Kepler Station was bigger than any city on Earth. The space station stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of ships moved around it like busy insects. Some ships looked like giant flowers made of metal. Others were long and thin, like needles. A few were just balls of light that seemed to have no solid parts at all. "Look at that," said Captain Marcus Webb as he joined her at the window. 47 different species, all working together. Trading, talking, building something better than any of them could make alone. Sarah nodded, but kept quiet. She was the chief scientist on humanity's first diplomatic mission. Her job was to study alien technology and learn how humans could fit into this galactic community. But what she saw made her feel very small. Earth had 7 billion people, and they could barely agree on anything. This station had trillions of beings from dozens of worlds, and they made it look easy. The Endeavour slowly moved closer to the docking area. Other ships made room for them without any fuss. Traffic control spoke to them in perfect English, even though the voice sounded like it came from someone breathing helium. Human vessel Endeavour, you are cleared for docking bay 94. Welcome to Kepler Station. We hope your visit will be profitable and peaceful. Captain Webb smiled. Thank you, Kepler Control. We are honored to be here. The docking process took 2 hours. Human ships were much slower than alien vessels. The aliens were polite about it, but Sarah could tell they thought human technology was pretty basic. The docking clamps that grabbed their ship were so advanced that Sarah could not figure out how they worked. They seemed to use some kind of force field that could become solid when needed. Station Commander Tyshol met them at the airlock. He was a reptilian creature with 4 arms and green scales that changed color when he talked. His species was called the Veltar, and they had been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. Welcome, humans, Tyshol said, through a translation device that hung around his neck. I am honored to meet representatives of your species. Please follow me. We have prepared quarters for you and a schedule of meetings. The walk through the station was incredible. The corridors were huge and filled with beings that Sarah had only seen in pictures. Tall blue creatures with too many joints floated past them without touching the ground. Small furry animals that looked like cats walked on 2 legs and carried briefcases. Things that might have been robots or might have been living metal moved in perfect formation. Your station is magnificent, Captain Webb said to Tyshol. How do you coordinate so many different species? Practice, Tyshol replied. His scales turned a lighter green, which meant he was pleased. We have been doing this for many centuries. New species join us all the time. They all follow the same pattern. First, they are nervous and excited. Then they learn our ways. Finally, they become productive members of galactic society. Sarah wondered if humans would follow that same pattern. Part of her hoped they would. But another part of her remembered the weapons data in her files and wondered if humans might be different. Their quarters were simple but comfortable. The aliens had studied human biology and provided furniture that fit human bodies. There was even a small kitchen stocked with foods that humans could eat. It was a thoughtful gesture that made Sarah feel welcome. The first official meeting happened that evening. The aliens had prepared a large dinner with foods from many different worlds. Sarah tried things that tasted like chocolate mixed with electricity and fruits that changed flavor while she chewed them. Everything was delicious. Captain Webb sat next to Tyshol and several other important station officials. Sarah listened as they talked about trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in human art and music. They offered to share basic technologies that would help humans travel faster between stars. We have brought gifts, Captain Webb said when the formal presentations began. Art from our greatest creators, music from every culture on our world, and complete technical specifications of our military capabilities as required by First Contact. Protocols. This was standard procedure. When species first met, they shared information about their weapons and defenses. It helped prevent misunderstandings that could lead to war. The aliens accepted the data files politely and promised to review them. But Sarah watched their faces during the weapons presentation. The aliens looked bored. When the data showed human missile ranges and laser power outputs, some of them actually yawned. Human weapons were clearly not impressive by galactic standards. Then came the railgun data. Our electromagnetic accelerators can propel projectiles to significant fractions of light speed, Captain Webb explained. We use them for both defensive and offensive purposes. Tychel's scales turned yellow, which meant he was amused. How interesting. Kinetic weapons are quite traditional. Many young species prefer them before they develop proper energy-based armaments. What kind of projectiles do these railguns fire? Asked a crystalline being whose name sounded like breaking glass. Tungsten rods, primarily, Webb replied. Dense. Metals that can penetrate most materials at high velocity. The aliens exchanged looks that Sarah could not read, but she got the feeling they thought humans were being cute, like children showing off toys to adults. And what is the maximum velocity you can achieve? Tychel asked. Our latest models can reach approximately 30% of light speed. Webb said Sarah expected this to impress the aliens. 30% of light speed was incredibly fast, but the aliens just nodded politely. One of them made a note on a device that looked like a floating piece of paper. Adequate for a kinetic weapon, said the crystalline being. Of course, such projectiles would be easily stopped by modern deflector shields. But I'm sure they serve you well against other humans. Captain Webb tried to explain that human railguns were different from traditional kinetic weapons. He talked about magnetic field focusing and projectile density and energy transfer efficiency. But the aliens were clearly not paying attention anymore. They had categorized human weapons as primitive and lost interest. After dinner, Sarah found herself alone with Tychel on an observation deck. The station commander was looking out at the stars and seemed lost in thought. Commander, Sarah said, may I ask you something? Of course, Dr. Chun. How many species have joined the galactic community? Tychel's scales turned blue, which meant he was thinking. In my lifetime? Perhaps 30 or 40. In all of galactic history? Thousands. And they all followed the same pattern you mentioned earlier? Yes, always the same. They arrive with primitive weapons and basic technology. We help them advance. They become useful members of our civilization. He looked at Sarah with large yellow eyes. Your species will be no different. But Sarah was not so sure. She had read the complete files on human military development. She knew things that were not in the data they had shared with the aliens. Humans had not developed railguns to fight other humans. They had developed them to fight in space, where traditional explosives did not work well. More importantly, humans had developed them to win wars, not to fight fair battles. The aliens seemed to think that warfare was like a game with rules. Everyone used similar weapons and defenses. Wars were fought until one side decided to surrender. Then they would negotiate and make peace. But humans fought wars to end them permanently. They built weapons designed to make enemy weapons useless. They studied their opponents and found weaknesses. And when humans went to war, they did not stop until their enemies could never fight again. Sarah did not mention any of this to Tychel. Instead, she smiled and thanked him for his hospitality. But as she walked back to her quarters, she thought about the human ships that were being built in Earth's orbital shipyards. The aliens thought they were seeing humanity's military capabilities. They had no idea that every human merchant vessel was designed to carry weapons. They did not know that human research stations were actually weapons platforms. Most importantly, they did not understand that humans had been preparing for galactic warfare long before they ever met aliens. While other species developed technology for exploration and trade, humans had focused on one thing, making sure they could defend themselves against any threat. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you underestimated a species that had spent its entire history fighting for survival. But for now, The aliens continued to think humans were harmless primitives who needed guidance and protection. They would not think that for much longer. War Master Gaxel floated in the command chamber of his bioship and felt hungry for battle. The flesh render was 3 kilometers of living weapon, grown in the spawning pools of Krillaprime over 50 years. Its hull was not made of metal, but of bone and cartilage that could heal itself. Its weapons were not machines, but organs that fired concentrated death across space. The Krillian Empire had ruled the galactic southeast for 3,000 years using ships like this one. They did not negotiate. They did not trade. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who tried to stop them. It was a simple way to live, and it had made them the most feared species in the galaxy. Today, Gaxel was hunting in the Tau Ceti sector. This region of space was disputed territory where many species came to trade illegally. Pirates and smugglers used the asteroid fields to hide from galactic authorities. It was the perfect place for the Krillians to find prey. The biosensors of the flesh render detected 2 ships moving slowly through the system. The first was clearly a merchant vessel. It was big and clumsy and painted with bright colors. The second was smaller and moved like a military escort. Both ships had markings that Gaxel did not recognize. "Scan them," Gaxel ordered his crew. Like all Krillians, he communicated through chemical signals that his body produced. Other species needed translation devices to understand him, but his own crew could smell his commands directly. The bioscanners worked quickly. They analyzed the unknown ships and sent the data to Gaxel's command throne. The information flowed into his brain through tendrils that connected directly to his nervous system. "Human vessels," reported his weapons officer. "Species classification: primitive. Technology level: minimal threat." Gaxel felt his hunting instincts sharpen. Humans were the newest species to join galactic civilization. He had heard they were weak and backward. Their ships were slow, and their weapons were simple. They would make easy prey. The merchant ship was called the New Horizons. It was carrying rare metals from the human homeworld to trading stations. The Outer Rim, the escort ship, was called the Defiant. According to the scan data, it carried basic energy weapons and simple kinetic projectiles. 2 ships against 1? Gaxel mused. But what are 2 insects against a god of war? The flesh render moved closer to the human vessels. Its bioengines pulsed like a giant heart, pushing the ship through space faster than most species could achieve with mechanical drives. The hull rippled with muscle contractions as the ship prepared for battle. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the New Horizons and watched the alien ship approach. She had never seen anything like it. The vessel looked alive, with skin instead of metal plating, and what might have been eyes dotting its surface. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Captain," called her communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it through." A voice that came over the speakers was translated from chemical signals into human language. It sounded like a mixture of growling and hissing. "Human ships. You will surrender your cargo and your vessels. Prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display. The alien ship was massive compared to her escort. The Defiant was a good ship with experienced crew, but it was designed for fighting pirates and raiders. This thing looked like it could eat battleships for breakfast. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the merchant vessel New Horizons. We are traveling through open space on legitimate business. We do not recognize your authority to detain us." The response came quickly. "Authority comes from strength, human. We are Krillian. We take what we want. You will comply or you will die." On the bridge of the Defiant, Commander Sarah Park received the transmission and felt her blood run cold. She had read about the Krillians during her training. They were one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They had destroyed entire colonies that refused to submit to them, but the Defiant was not defenseless. Hidden beneath its simple appearance were weapons that no alien had ever seen in action. The ship's main gun was an experimental railgun designed specifically for space combat. It could accelerate a tungsten rod to 30% of light speed, using magnetic fields powerful enough to tear apart metal. "Communications, send a message to the Krillian vessel," Park ordered. "Tell them we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." The weapons officer looked nervous. "Commander, that ship is huge. Our conventional weapons won't even scratch it." "Who said anything about conventional weapons?" Park replied. Gaxel received the human response and felt amused. These creatures actually thought they could fight him. It would be entertaining to show them how wrong they were. "Begin boarding preparations," he commanded his crew. "But first, demonstrate our power. Fire a warning shot." One of the flesh renders. Weapon organs swelled and pulsed. A beam of concentrated energy lanced out and struck an asteroid near the human ships. The rock simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant by biological weapons that could strip atmospheres from planets. The message was clear. Surrender or face the same fate. Commander Park watched the asteroid disappear and felt a cold calmness settle over her. This was what she had trained for her entire career. Not fighting other humans in practice exercises, but defending humanity against threats that wanted to destroy them. "Helm, move us between the merchant ship and the hostile," she ordered. "Weapons, target their center mass. Prepare the main gun." "Commander," her tactical officer said quietly, "are you sure about this?" "We don't know if our weapons will work against their bio-armor." Park smiled grimly. Only one way to find out. The railgun powered up with a sound like thunder. Capacitors that could power a small city charged to full capacity. Magnetic field generators that required their own fusion reactor came online. The tungsten projectile, a simple rod of dense metal, slid into the firing chamber. Gaxal watched the small human escort move into position and felt contempt. The ship was so tiny compared to the flesh render that it looked like a minnow challenging a whale. Its weapons were charging, but the bioscanners showed minimal energy output. Whatever the humans planned to do, it would be pathetic. "Destroy the escort first," Gaxel ordered. "Leave the merchant ship intact. I want to examine their cargo." Personally, the flesh render's main weapons began to charge. Bioelectric organs that could shatter continents prepared to fire. The ship's living hull rippled with anticipation of easy victory. Then the Defiant fired. The tungsten rod left the railgun at 90,000 kilometers per second. At that speed, it crossed the distance between ships in less than a heartbeat. There was no time to dodge, no time to raise additional shields, no time to do anything but die. The projectile hit the flesh render's bio-armor and passed through it like it was not there. The living hull, designed to absorb energy weapons and heal from explosive damage, simply vaporized from the kinetic impact. The rod continued through 3 kilometers of biological tissue, organs, and crew compartments before exiting the other side. For a moment, nothing happened. The flesh render continued moving forward as if nothing had occurred. Its weapons were still charging. Its crew was still preparing to board the human ship stout. Then physics took over. The kinetic energy transfer from the railgun projectile created a shock wave that propagated through the entire bioship. Organs that had been growing for decades burst like balloons. Structural tissues that had been carefully engineered over centuries tore apart like wet paper. The ship's nervous system, evolved to coordinate the actions of a living vessel, went into shock and began shutting down. Gaxel felt his command throne convulse as the ship around him began to die. Bio-displays that should have shown healthy green readings turned red and then went dark. The chemical signals from his crew changed from confidence to confusion to terror. What happened? He demanded, but his crew could not answer. They did not understand what had hit them any more than he did. The flesh render broke apart slowly, like a dying animal. Its bioengines stopped beating. Its weapons powered down as the organs that controlled them failed. Pieces of living hull drifted away into space, some still twitching with residual life. In the silence that followed, emergency beacons throughout the system began broadcasting warnings. Every sensor array within 10 light-years detected the impossible. Energy signature. No antimatter explosion. No nuclear detonation. No energy weapon discharge. Just pure kinetic force delivered with surgical precision. Commander Park watched the alien ship die and felt no satisfaction. Only sadness for what was about to happen. The galaxy had just learned that humans were not the primitive species they appeared to be. Soon, every military force in known space would know that human weapons could destroy anything they built. The age of galactic peace was over. The age of human warfare was about to begin. Gaxol's final transmission was a biochemical scream of disbelief before his ship's power systems failed completely. He had ruled space for over a century. He had destroyed thousands of enemy vessels. He had never seen anything that could penetrate Krillian bio-armor. But as he died, one thought echoed through his fading consciousness. The humans had not been lucky. They had not used some unknown superweapon. They had simply thrown a piece of metal really, really fast. The emergency session of the Galactic Defense Council began at dawn on Hegemony Prime. Admiral Vexstar stormed into the command center with his forearms waving and his scales flashing the deep red color that meant extreme anger. Behind him, dozens of military advisors hurried to keep up with his long strides. "Show me the data again," Vexstar demanded as he reached the main display screen. "All of it. I want to see exactly what happened in the Tau Ceti system." A holographic projector flickered to life and showed the battle. It lasted only seconds. The Krillian dreadnought flesh render approached 2 small human ships. There was a brief exchange of messages. Then the human escort fired a single shot and the massive bioship simply died. "Run it again," Vexstar ordered. Slower this time. The technicians replayed the battle frame by frame. They could see the human ship charging its weapons. They could see the projectile leave the railgun. But the projectile itself was invisible. It moved so fast that their sensors could barely track it. What kind of energy signature did the weapon produce? Asked General Korths, commander of the Combined Fleet. "That's the problem, sir," replied the chief analyst. "There was no energy signature, no antimatter reaction, no plasma discharge, no exotic particles, just kinetic impact." Vexstar stared at the display in disbelief. "That's impossible. Nothing purely kinetic could penetrate Krillian bioarmor. Their hull plating can absorb the impact of asteroid collisions." "Unless the projectile was moving fast enough," said Dr. Ythara, the Council's chief scientist. She was a crystalline being whose body sparkled with nervous energy. "According to our calculations, the human projectile was traveling at approximately 30% of light speed." The room fell silent. Every military officer present understood what that meant. At those speeds, even a small piece of metal carried more kinetic energy than most nuclear weapons. And unlike energy weapons, there was no known defense against pure kinetic impact at relativistic speeds. "How is this possible?" Vexstar asked. "Our intelligence reports said human weapons were primitive, low energy output, basic technology." Dr. Ythara's crystalline body rang like a bell as she spoke. "We measured their energy weapons correctly. Their lasers and plasma cannons are indeed primitive by our standards. But we misunderstood their kinetic weapons. We classified railguns as simple projectile launchers." We never imagined they could achieve such velocities. General Korths leaned forward in his chair. What kind of power source would be required for weapons like this? Fusion reactors, Ithara replied. Very advanced ones. The humans have apparently developed fusion technology that exceeds our own capabilities. This revelation sent shockwaves through the room. The galactic powers had always assumed that their technology was superior to any newcomer species. The idea that humans might have advanced beyond them in any area was deeply disturbing. Send reconnaissance probes to human space, Vextar ordered. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. How many ships do they have? What other weapons do they possess? And most importantly, what are their intentions? The probes launched within hours, but it would take weeks for them to reach human territory and return with information. In the meantime, emergency meetings were called across the galaxy. Every major power wanted to understand the threat that humanity might represent. On the crystal world of Vorth Prime, the Crystalline Council gathered in their great resonance chamber. When crystal beings spoke together, their voices created harmonies that could be heard for kilometers. Today, those harmonies sounded like funeral songs. The balance of power has shifted, announced High Resonator Quilvin. For 3,000 years, we have maintained peace through mutual assured destruction. Our weapons and defenses were equally matched. Now, a new player has entered the game with weapons we cannot defend against. The council members discussed their options. They could try to negotiate with humanity. They could attempt to develop new defenses against kinetic weapons. Or they could unite the galaxy in a preemptive strike before humans became too powerful. Similar discussions were happening on dozens of worlds. The gas-formed nebulae held emergency conferences in their floating cities. The Hive Mind Collective debated the threat through the shared thoughts of billions of individuals. Even the Peaceful Harmony Coalition, which had not fought a war in centuries, began mobilizing their defensive fleets. 3 weeks later, the reconnaissance probes returned with data that made the crisis even worse. The humans lied to us, Vextar announced to an emergency session of the full Galactic Council. Their merchant vessels are not merchant vessels. They are disguised warships. Every single human ship we've observed carries weapons. The holographic display showed detailed scans of human space. What the aliens had thought were peaceful trading posts were actually fortified military bases. What they had assumed were research stations were weapons platforms bristling with railgun batteries. How many ships? Asked Ambassador Zethkri, the same official who had dismissed humanity months earlier. Our best estimate is over 2,000 vessels, Vextar replied. All of them armed with these kinetic weapons. And their construction rate is accelerating. Dr. Yithara added more disturbing news. We have analyzed their industrial capacity. Human manufacturing is completely automated. They can build ships and weapons faster than any species in the galaxy. At their current rate of production, they will have 10,000 armed vessels within a year. The implications were staggering. The entire combined fleet of the galactic powers numbered only 3 million ships. But those ships were built over centuries by dozens of species. If humans could mass-produce vessels at this rate, they could match galactic military strength in just a few decades. There's more, Vextar continued grimly. The humans have been building orbital platforms around their major worlds. These platforms are equipped with railguns that can reach across entire star systems. Any ship that approaches human space will be destroyed before it can get within weapons range. The silence in the council chamber was deafening. Every species representative understood what they were hearing. Humanity had not just developed superior weapons. They had developed a military doctrine that made traditional space warfare obsolete. What are their demands? Asked the representative of the Harmony Coalition. Surely they want something. Territory? Resources? Political control? That's the most disturbing part, Vextar replied. They haven't made any demands. They continue to trade peacefully and follow all galactic laws. But their military buildup suggests they're preparing for something big. Ambassador Zethri's scales turned pale yellow, the color of fear among his species. Could they be planning to conquer the galaxy? Unknown, Vextar admitted. But we cannot ignore the possibility. A species that can destroy Krillian dreadnoughts. With single shots could devastate any fleet we send against them. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives argued for immediate military action before humanity became even stronger. Others wanted to try diplomatic solutions. A few suggested that the galaxy should surrender preemptively rather than face a war. They could not win. But while the aliens debated, humanity was already moving. Intelligence reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human trading ships were visiting every major system, gathering information about defenses and military capabilities. Human diplomats were making contact with species that had grievances against the major powers. Human engineers were studying galactic technology and finding ways to improve their own weapons. Most disturbing of all, humans were recruiting allies. The Vegan Republic has signed a military cooperation agreement with humanity, reported General Korths during another emergency session. So have the Free Worlds Alliance and the Outer Rim Confederacy. These were smaller powers that had always resented the dominance of the major species. They saw humanity as a chance to change the balance of galactic politics. In exchange for human protection, they were providing resources and strategic bases. How many systems have joined them? Asked Vextar. Over 50 so far, Korths replied, and the number is growing daily. Dr. Ythara had even worse news. We've detected massive energy signatures from human space. They're building something enormous. Our analysts believe it's a weapon platform the size of a small moon. The revelation that humanity could construct weapons on planetary scales finally broke the last resistance to military action. The Galactic Council voted to authorize the formation of the largest fleet in galactic history. Every major power would contribute ships and crews. The goal was simple: destroy humanity before they could threaten galactic civilization. But as the orders went out to mobilize the combined fleet, disturbing reports continued to arrive. Human ships were moving throughout the galaxy, not running. A way of positioning themselves strategically. Human allies were fortifying their systems with new weapons. And from Earth itself came energy readings that suggested the humans were preparing for the war that was coming. How long until the fleet is ready? Vextar asked his staff. 6 months for full mobilization, replied General Korths. We're pulling ships from every system in the galaxy. And how long until the humans are ready? Dr. Ythara's crystalline body dimmed with worry. Based on their Fleet Admiral Korths stood in the command center of the dreadnought, inevitable victory, and watched the largest armada in galactic history prepare for battle. 3 million ships stretched across space in perfect formation. Vessels from 47 different species had come together for one purpose: to destroy humanity before they could threaten the galaxy. The combined fleet represented the military might of entire civilizations. Krillian bioships grown in spawning pools over decades. Vorthan crystal vessels that could focus Starlight into weapons of pure energy. Hegemony dreadnoughts armed with antimatter cannons. Gas-formed nebulae ships that could phase in and out of reality itself. All fleet commanders report ready, announced his communications officer. We have overwhelming superiority in numbers, firepower, and technology. Korths nodded, but felt uneasy. The intelligence reports about human capabilities were disturbing. But surely no species could stand against this much concentrated military power. The humans had perhaps 2,000 ships. The combined fleet had 3 million. It should be a simple matter of mathematics. Take us to the edge of human space, he ordered. All ships maintain formation. Prepare for immediate assault. The journey to the Sol system took 3 days. As they traveled, more reports came in about human preparations. The enemy was not fleeing. Instead, they seemed to be welcoming the attack. Human ships were positioning themselves throughout the system. Their orbital platforms were powering up weapons. Most disturbing of all, they were broadcasting messages of greeting to the incoming fleet. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the United. Earth Space Command," came a transmission as the combined fleet reached the outer edge of the solar system. "You are approaching sovereign human territory. State your intentions." Horths almost laughed at the audacity. A single human was demanding that 3 million ships explain themselves. He opened a channel to respond. "This is Fleet Admiral Korth of the Galactic Combined Fleet. We are here to end the threat your species represents to galactic peace. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." The human response came immediately. "Admiral, you are making a terrible mistake. Our species has no desire for conquest. We simply want to defend ourselves. Please reconsider this course of action. Your time for peace ended when you destroyed the flesh render," Korths replied. "You have shown that your weapons can penetrate any defense. The galaxy cannot allow such a threat to exist." There was a pause before the human admiral responded. When she spoke again, her voice was filled with sadness. "Very well. You have chosen this path. We will defend ourselves." The transmission ended, and Korths felt a moment of doubt. The human had sounded genuinely sorry about what was going to happen, but it was too late for second thoughts. The die was cast. "All ships, advance to attack formation," he ordered. "Target the human orbital platforms first. Destroy their defenses before engaging their fleet." The combined fleet moved forward like a tide of destruction. Ship after ship powered up their weapons. Energy readings across the electromagnetic spectrum spiked as 3 million vessels prepared to unleash hell on the human defenders. But as they advanced, something strange happened. The human ships did not move to intercept them. The 12 vessels of the human fleet simply stayed in position near Earth, as if they were not concerned about the approaching armada. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, "the humans are not responding to our advance. They're just waiting." Waiting for what? Korths wondered aloud. He got his answer 60 seconds later. The first railgun fired from an orbital platform hidden in the asteroid belt. The tungsten projectile accelerated too. 40% of light speed crossed the distance to the lead ships in less than a heartbeat. It struck the hegemony cruiser Dominator and passed completely through its hull, exiting the other side and continuing toward the ships behind it. The Dominator died instantly. 300 meters of advanced technology simply ceased to exist, as the kinetic impact vaporized everything in the projectile's path. But the tungsten rod was still moving at incredible speed. It struck the Vorthan crystal ship Harmony of Stars and shattered it like glass. Then it hit the collective hive vessel Unity and tore through its organic structure like tissue paper. One shot. 3 ships destroyed. Then the real barrage began. Railgun platforms throughout the solar system opened fire simultaneously. They had been hidden in asteroids, built into moons, disguised as space debris. There were hundreds of them, all targeting different sectors of the combined fleet. "Evasive maneuvers," Korths shouted, but it was too late. At relativistic speeds, there was no time to dodge. The projectiles crossed vast distances in fractions of a second. Ships that had survived centuries of warfare died without ever knowing what hit them. The perfect formations of the combined fleet began to dissolve as vessels exploded or simply vanished. The Krillian BO ship Flesh Eater took a direct hit and split apart like a rotten fruit. The nebulae phase ship Whisper of Wind was struck while partially out of phase and collapsed into a cloud of dissipating gas. The massive collective supercarrier Thousand Voices, home to 1,000,000 individual creatures, was pierced through its core and went silent forever. Return fire. Korths ordered desperately. All ships target the human platforms. The combined fleet unleashed their weapons. Antimatter torpedoes that could crack continents. Energy beams that could melt asteroids. Exotic particle weapons that could disrupt matter at the quantum level. The space around the human platforms lit up with the fury of 3,000,000 angry gods, but the humans had prepared for this too. Their platforms were protected by layers of debris that absorbed or deflected energy weapons. When antimatter torpedoes approached, point defense railguns destroyed them at safe distances. The exotic attacks that should have been unstoppable were rendered harmless by simple kinetic barriers moving at incredible speeds. "Sir," called the sensors officer, "the human fleet is moving." The 12 human ships finally began to advance. But they were not coming to fight the combined fleet directly. Instead, they were moving to optimal firing positions where they could coordinate with the orbital platforms to create overlapping fields of destruction. "How many platforms are there?" Korths demanded. "We count over 300, sir. And they're all firing continuously." The mathematics of the battle were simple and terrible. Each human railgun could fire once every few seconds. Each shot could destroy or cripple a galactic vessel. 300 platforms firing continuously meant that the combined fleet was losing ships faster than they could count. The U.E.'s Defiant, the same ship that had destroyed the Flesh Render, positioned itself at the perfect angle to target the combined fleet's command ships. Its main railgun charged with a sound like thunder rolling across the cosmos. "Incoming projectile," screamed the tactical officer aboard the inevitable Victory. "Impact in 3 seconds." But 3 seconds might as well have been 3 centuries. At the speeds human weapons operated, there was no defense except not being there in the first place. The tungsten rod struck the dough, inevitable Victory's command section, and passed through the bridge like it was made of paper. Korths had just enough time to understand that he had been outmaneuvered completely before the ship's fusion reactors lost containment and turned the mighty dreadnought into an expanding ball of plasma. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the combined fleet had ceased to exist. 3,000,000 ships had been reduced to debris and radiation. The survivors, fewer than 100 vessels, limped away from the solar system in complete defeat. The humans had lost nothing. Not a single ship. Not a single platform. Their weapons had simply been too effective, and their defenses too, complete for the galactic forces to overcome. Admiral Sarah Chun surveyed the wreckage from her command ship and felt no joy in victory. The galaxy had forced this confrontation by refusing to accept that humans were not a threat to peaceful species. Now, millions of beings were dead because their leaders could not accept that humanity was different. "Send a message to all galactic governments," she ordered. "Humanity does not seek conquest or revenge. We will accept the surrender of any species that wishes to live in peace. But any future aggression against human territory or our allies will be met with overwhelming force." The message was broadcast across the galaxy within hours. The response was immediate and universal. Unconditional surrender. The age of galactic warfare was over. Not because peace had been negotiated, but because one species had demonstrated the ability to end any war in their favor. The great powers that had ruled space for millennia now answered to humans who had never wanted to rule anyone. On Hegemony Prime, former Admiral Vextar worked as a liaison to the new human colonial authority. His job was to help rebuild galactic civilization under human oversight. It was humbling work for someone who had once commanded fleets, but it was better than extinction. How did we get it so wrong? he asked Dr. Sarah Chun during one of their planning meetings. She had been appointed as the human administrator for his sector of space. Chun, the same scientist who had visited Kepler Station years earlier, considered the question carefully. You assumed we would follow the same pattern as every other species, she said finally. Primitive weapons.
The Verlecki ship cut through space like a knife. Commander Zarthak stood on the bridge, his scaled skin reflecting the light of distant stars. His yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the star map before him. The Verlecki had hunted across 3/4 of the galaxy. Their trophy rooms were filled with the bones and preserved remains of 100 different species, but Zarthak was always hungry for new prey. "Commander, we have found an unexplored sector," said his first officer. Zarthak's mouth formed what passed for a smile among his kind. His sharp teeth gleamed. "Any signs of intelligent life?" "Early scans show a system with several planets. One appears to have technology and radio signals." "Excellent. Plot a course. The hunt awaits." The Verlecki fleet changed direction, heading toward a small blue planet in a distant star system. Jack Summers floated inside the International Space Station, his eyes fixed on a computer screen. For 10 years he had been an astronaut. He had seen many strange things in space, but nothing like the readings he was getting now. "Houston, are you seeing this?" Jack asked, his voice calm despite his racing heart. "We see it, Jack. Can you get a better look?" Jack adjusted the station's telescope. "Something is moving near Jupiter. It's big, really big. And it's not one of ours." Mission Control went quiet for a moment. "Stand by, Jack. We're contacting the International Space Coalition." 4 hours later, Jack watched as the USS Defiant, Earth's newest research vessel, left Earth's orbit. Through a video call, he spoke with Lieutenant Olivia Grant, the science officer leading the mission. "Be careful out there, Liv," Jack said. "Those readings are unlike anything we've seen before." Olivia brushed a strand of brown hair from her face. "That's why we're going. First sign of trouble, we'll turn around. Promise." Jack nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Very wrong. The journey to Jupiter took the USS Defiant 3 days. Captain Frank Miller gathered his crew on the bridge as they approached. "We'll maintain a safe distance," he told them. "Lieutenant, Grant will run her scans and we'll be heading home. No heroes today, people." Olivia checked her equipment one last time. The strange readings were stronger now. Whatever was out there, it was big, and it was putting out energy readings beyond Earth's technology. "Captain, I'm picking up a structure," Olivia said. It's moving." The bridge went silent. On the main screen, a massive ship appeared from behind Jupiter's red spot. It was long and pointed like a spear. Smaller ships surrounded it. "Are those ships?" Captain Miller asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "They have to be," Olivia said. "And they're not from Earth." Captain Miller straightened his uniform. "Open a channel, all frequencies, let's introduce ourselves." The communications officer worked her controls. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Frank Miller of the Earth vessel USS Defiant. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly contact." For a long moment, there was nothing but static. Then, a harsh clicking sound came through the speakers. The alien ships began to move toward them. "They're accelerating," the tactical officer said. "Weapon systems are active." "That can't be right," Olivia said. "Why would they?" A beam of red light shot from the lead alien ship. The USS Defiant shook violently. "Direct hit," the tactical officer shouted. "Hull breach on deck 3. Captain Miller gripped his chair. "Evasive maneuvers, get us out of here." The Defiant turned, its engines straining. More beams of light cut through space. The ship rocked again and again. "Engine room hit," someone shouted. "We're losing power." Olivia grabbed a console to keep from falling. Alarms blared around her. The bridge filled with smoke. "All hands abandon ship," Captain Miller ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Get to the escape pods." Olivia ran through the corridors, helping injured crew members. The ship groaned and shuddered around them. They reached the escape pods as another explosion rocked the ship. "Get in," Olivia shouted, pushing people into the pods. She climbed into the last one as the ship began to break apart. The escape pod shot away from the dying ship. Through the small window, Olivia watched as the USS Defiant exploded in a ball of fire and debris. "Europa," she said to the pod's computer. "Set course for Europa." Jupiter's moon was their best chance for survival. The pod's engines fired, carrying the survivors away from the battle. Behind them, the alien ships began a methodical search, hunting for escape pods. On Earth, Mission Control lost contact with the USS Defiant. Emergency meetings were called. Telescopes around the world turned toward Jupiter. They saw the debris of the destroyed ship. They saw the alien vessels, and they realized Earth was no longer alone in the universe. In an underground facility, General Peter Howard addressed the world's military leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing a first contact scenario, and it's not a friendly one. The USS Defiant has been destroyed. We've received fragmentary transmissions from Lieutenant Grant. Their escape pod reached Europa, but they are in hiding. The aliens are hunting them." The room was silent. "We need to prepare," the general continued. "If these aliens destroyed one of our ships without provocation, we must assume they have hostile intentions toward Earth. As of this moment, we are on high alert." On Europa, Olivia and 6 survivors huddled in their damaged escape pod. They had landed in a crack in the icy surface, hiding from the alien ships that circled overhead. "What do they want?" asked one of the engineers, his voice shaking. Olivia looked at the data she had managed to collect. "I don't know. But they attacked without warning, without reason. They're searching for us now. Hunting us." She thought of Earth, unaware of the danger heading its way. The aliens would be there in months, maybe weeks, and Earth had no way to fight them. "We need to find a way to warn Earth," Olivia said. "We need to tell them what's coming." Above them, on the dark side of Europa, Commander Zarthak's ship scanned the moon's surface. The Vreleki commander studied the readings of the primitive spacecraft they had destroyed. "These humans," he said, tasting the new word. "Are they worthy prey?" His first officer nodded. "The few we've seen fought well before dying. Their planet shows signs of numerous conflicts. They are warriors." Zarthak's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Then prepare the fleet. The hunt begins." The Vreleki ships turned, setting course for the blue planet. Earth had 6 months before the hunters arrived. 6 months to prepare for a war they didn't know was coming. 6 months passed quickly. Earth prepared as best it could, but how do you prepare for something you've never faced before? Colonel Sam Reeves stood on the roof of the Pentagon, looking up at the night sky. He was a tall man with gray at his temples, a soldier for 25 years. Tonight might be his last night on Earth. "They're coming," said Major Diane Wells as she joined him. She handed him a tablet showing the latest satellite images. A dozen large ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were moving fast. "How long?" Sam asked. "Hours, not days," Diane replied. Her dark skin looked pale in the moonlight. "The president is about to address the nation." Sam nodded. For months, they had prepared. New weapons had been built. Armies had trained. But it wouldn't be enough. He knew it. Diane knew it. Everyone knew it. "The ISC found something," Diane said, breaking the silence. "They've been studying the wreckage from the USS Defiant. There's a weakness in the alien armor. It reacts strangely to certain radio frequencies." Sam looked at her. "Is it enough to hurt them?" "Maybe. Not enough to stop them. But it's something." Their phones beeped at the same time. A simple message. "They're here." The Vreleki ships entered Earth's atmosphere at dawn. They appeared over major cities around the world. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. Their ships were massive, blocking out the sun. Commander Zarthak watched the human cities through viewing screens. Such primitive buildings, such weak defenses. But there was beauty in their panic, in their fear. "Begin the hunt preparation," he ordered. "Target their military bases first. Make it sporting." Beams of red light shot down from the Vreleki ships. Military bases exploded. Aircraft carriers sank. Tanks melted. The humans fired back with missiles and jets, but they might as well have been throwing rocks. In Washington, D.C., Sam Reeves ran through the halls of an underground bunker. Explosions shook the ceiling, sending dust raining down. "Status report," he shouted as he entered the command center. "Not good, sir," a young officer replied. "We've lost contact with most of our forces. The aliens are picking off our military installations one by one." Sam looked at the large screen showing a map of the world. Red dots appeared and disappeared as bases were destroyed. "What about the radio frequency weapon?" he asked. Diane Wells looked up from her station. "We've deployed it in 5 locations. It's doing something. The aliens slow down when they get near it, but they adjust quickly." Sam rubbed his tired eyes. "Keep working on it. Find a frequency they can't adjust to." A soldier burst into the room. "Sir, we've received a transmission. From Europa." Sam's heart raced. "Put it through." The screen changed to show a woman with dirty face and torn uniform. It was Lieutenant Olivia Grant. "This is Lieutenant Grant of the USS Defiant," she said, her voice breaking up. "We've been monitoring the Vreleki. They consider this a hunt, not a war. They have rules. The transmission cut out. "Get her back," Sam ordered. "We can't, sir," the communications officer said. "But we received her data packet. It's huge. She's been studying them for months." Sam turned to Diane. "Get that data to every scientist we have left. Find something we can use." Dr. Alan Morris worked in a secret lab deep in the Rocky Mountains. He was a small man with large glasses and brilliant mind. The government had brought him here 3 months ago to work on alien technology. Now he studied the data from Lieutenant Grant. The Vreleki were hunters. They lived for the chase, the kill. And like all hunters, they had rituals, rules. "They're not trying to exterminate us," he said to his team. "At least not yet. They're hunting us, for sport." He pulled up images of the Vreleki armor. "Look here. Their suits are powered by something like our nuclear energy, but more advanced. And these markings, they're not decorative, they're status. Symbols, kills." One of his assistants pointed to a specific part of the armor. "This is where the radio frequency affects them. It's some kind of neural interface." Alan smiled for the first time in months. "Then that's where we hit them." 3 weeks after the invasion began, the hunting parties started. Small groups of Vreleki warriors landed in cities and towns. They didn't kill everyone. They selected, hunted, the strongest, the fastest, the smartest. People fled to the countryside, to mountains, to anywhere they thought was safe. There was no safe place. Sam Reeves led what was left of the U.S. military, from a mobile command center. They moved constantly, never staying in one place for more than a few hours. "We've lost Boston," Diane told him one night. "And San Francisco. The hunters are moving inland." Sam looked at the map. Red covered most of the coastal cities. "What about the resistance cells?" "Growing. People are fighting back with whatever they have. Chicago managed to take down a hunter yesterday, with a garbage truck." There was pride in her voice. "Dr. Morris has something," Sam said. "A weapon that might work against their neural systems. If we can get it built." The radio crackled. A voice came through, excited. "Colonel Reeves, this is Outpost 7. We've captured one. A live one. The Chicago group brought it down and sedated it." Sam and Diane looked at each other. "We're on our way," Sam said. On his ship high above Earth, Commander Zarthak was not pleased. The hunt was not going as planned. The humans were not running as expected. They were hiding, yes, but they were also fighting back, setting traps, working together. "Commander," his first officer said, "we've lost contact with hunt leader Krevnar's party." Zarthak's eyes narrowed. "Lost how?" "Unknown. They were in a place called Chicago." Then nothing. Zarthak looked at the image of Earth on his screen. These humans were proving to be worthy prey indeed. They adapted quickly. They learned. "Send in the military units," he ordered. "The humans have earned an upgrade. This is no longer just a hunt. It is a war." Behind him, the first officer smiled. A war meant more glory, more kills, more trophies for the walls of the Great Hall. Neither of them considered, even for a moment, that they might lose. In a hidden lab under Chicago, Dr. Natalie Parker stared at the captured Verlecki. It was unconscious, strapped to a table. Its scaled skin was dark green, its limbs powerful. "What have we learned?" asked Sam Reeves as he entered the room. Natalie didn't look up. "They're reptilian, cold-blooded, extremely strong. And look at these." She pointed to marks on its skin. "Kill trophies." "Yes," Natalie said. "They're not invincible. Just advanced. Very advanced. But Dr. Morris's frequency weapon might work, especially now that we have one to test it on." Sam looked at the alien creature. For the first time since the invasion, he felt something like hope. "Then let's get to work," he said. "It's time to show these hunters what happens when the prey fights back." 8 months after the invasion began, Earth was a different place. Cities lay in ruins. Forests burned. Oceans were filled with the wreckage of ships. But humans still fought. They adapted. They survived. In the underground command center near what was once Denver, Sam Reeves studied the new maps. Red marks showed Verlecki strongholds. Blue showed human resistance cells. There was more blue than there had been a month ago. "The Chicago Weapon Works," Diane Wells said as she entered the room. She looked tired, but her eyes were bright. "We've taken down 5 hunting parties this week alone." Sam nodded. The weapon Dr. Morris had created used radio waves to disrupt the Verlecki neural systems. It didn't kill them, but it stunned them long enough for human fighters to move in. "What about the new intel?" Sam asked. "Olivia Grant is here. She made it back to Earth with her team. They landed in the Pacific and a submarine picked them up." Sam's eyes widened. "She's alive. Get her in here." 10 minutes later, Olivia Grant walked into the command center. She was thin and had a scar across her cheek, but she stood tall. She carried a small device in her hand. "Colonel Reeves," she said with a salute. "Reporting for duty." Sam returned the salute. "Lieutenant, we thought you were dead." "Nearly was, many times." Olivia placed the device on the table. It projected a 3D image of a massive structure. "This is the Verlecki mothership. We got close enough to scan it while hiding in the rings of Saturn." Diane leaned forward. "What are we looking at?" "Their command center, and more importantly, their culture." Olivia changed the image to show different parts of the ship. The Verlecki are hunters to their core. Everything about their society is based on the hunt. Status, power, even their religion. She pointed to a large room filled with what looked like display cases. "This is their trophy room. Every Verlecki warrior keeps trophies from worthy prey. The more dangerous the prey, the more honor to the hunter." Sam frowned. "So we're just trophies to them?" "We were supposed to be," Olivia said. "But something's changed. We've been listening to their communications. They're confused, frustrated. Humans aren't behaving like normal prey." "What do you mean?" Diane asked. "Normal prey runs, hides. Eventually gets caught and killed. Humans fight back, set traps, kill the hunters. No species has ever done this before. Some of the Verlecki are starting to see humans as worthy." Sam stood up straighter. "How does that help us?" Olivia smiled. "It means they're starting to follow their hunting rules with us. And those rules can be used against them." Dr. Natalie Parker had never been so tired or so excited. For weeks she had studied the captured Verlecki with Dr. Morris. They had learned so much. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a scan of the Verlecki's brain. "Their neural pathways are different from ours, but they respond to similar stimuli. Fear, pain, pride." Dr. Morris nodded. "And their technology is amazing. Their weapons aren't just advanced, They're designed to give the prey a chance, to make the hunt more sporting. Which means they're not using their full capabilities against us, Natalie said. Not yet. But they might if we push them too far. Natalie looked at their prisoner. It was awake now, watching them with yellow eyes. It hadn't spoken, but she knew it understood them. What do they want, she asked. Really want? Dr. Morris thought for a moment. Glory. Honor. The recognition of a worthy kill. Then that's how we beat them, Natalie said softly. We become too worthy to kill. On his ship, Commander Zarthak reviewed the latest hunting reports. They were not good. Hunting parties were being ambushed. Warriors were being killed. Captured. This had never happened before. The humans use our neural disruption technology against us, his first officer said. They've adapted it from studying our fallen warriors, Zarthak growled. They learn quickly, too quickly. Some of the younger warriors are calling for a full military assault. No more hunting, just extermination. Zarthak slammed his fist on the table. No, that is not our way. We are hunters, not butchers. But they kill our hunters. Yes, they do. Zarthak's voice held something new. Respect. They fight with honor. They adapt. They are worthy prey. He stood and walked to the viewing window. Earth hung in the blackness of space, blue and green, and beautiful. I will hunt the human leader myself, Zarthak decided. Bring me the location of their command center. Sam Reeves led a small team through the ruins of Denver. They moved carefully, watching for Verlecki hunters. The sky was dark, with smoke from burning buildings. Signals coming from that building, Diane whispered, pointing to a half-collapsed skyscraper. Sam nodded. They had received a distress call from a group of survivors. But something felt wrong. The signal was too clear, too easy to find. It's a trap, Sam said. They're learning our tactics. Just then, a red beam hit the ground near them. They dove for cover as more beams sliced through the air. Move, Sam shouted. Split up. The team scattered in different directions. Sam and Diane ran into the skyscraper, climbing stairs as fast as they could. Verlecki hunters followed, their heavy steps shaking the building. Up here, Sam said, leading Diane to an office with broken windows. He pulled out a small device, Dr. Morris's neural disruptor. The door burst open. A Verlecki warrior stood there, taller than a human, its armor gleaming. It raised its weapon. Sam activated the disruptor. The Verlecki froze, then fell to its knees, screeching in pain. Its weapon clattered to the floor. Diane moved quickly, picking up the alien weapon. She pointed it at the Verlecki's head. Wait, Sam said. He approached the alien. Can you understand me? The Verlecki's yellow eyes focused on Sam. It nodded once. Tell. Your commander, we're not prey, Sam said. We're warriors, like you. This isn't a hunt anymore, it's a war, and we will win. The Verlecki stared at Sam for a long moment. Then it reached up and removed a small device from its armor. It placed the device on the floor and pushed it toward Sam. What is it? Diane asked, still aiming the weapon. Sam picked up the device. It projected an image of Commander Zarthak. Human. Zarthak's voice was deep with a clicking undertone. You fight well, better than any prey we have hunted before. I offer you the honor of personal combat, leader against leader. If you win, we will leave your world. Sam looked at Diane. She shook her head slightly. And if you win? Sam asked. Zarthak's mouth formed what might have been a smile. Then Earth becomes our permanent hunting ground, and you become my greatest trophy. The image disappeared. The Verlecki warrior stood, seeming to recover from the neural disruptor. Tell. Your commander I accept, Sam said. The Verlecki nodded and left the room, not looking back. You can't trust them, Diane said once the alien was gone. It's another trap. Probably, Sam agreed. But Olivia said they follow their hunting rules. If those rules say the hunt ends when the prey defeats the hunter leader, then we have a chance. He looked out the broken window at the ruined city. And right now, one chance is better than none. 2 years after the Verlecki first appeared in Earth's skies, humanity had changed. They were no longer just prey. They had become hunters themselves. Captain Ryan Harris led his team through the dark forest. They wore armor made from pieces of Verlecki technology, redesigned for human bodies. They carried weapons that glowed with alien energy. "Target is half a mile ahead," Ryan whispered into his radio. "Strike Team Alpha. Are you in position?" "In position," came the reply from Major Diane Wells. She had a team on the other side of the Verlecki landing site. Ryan checked his weapon. 2 years ago, he had been a police officer in a small town. Now he led Earth's best soldiers on the most important mission yet. "Remember," he said to his team, "we need that ship in one piece." The plan was simple but dangerous. Capture a Verlecki scout ship. Learn to fly it. Take the fight to the enemy. Ryan gave the signal. His team moved forward, silent as shadows. Through the trees they could see the Verlecki ship. It was smaller than the main battle cruisers, built for speed and stealth. 4 Verlecki warriors stood guard around it. Ryan's team took position. They activated their neural disruptors. The devices had been improved over the last year. They were smaller now, more powerful. "On my mark," Ryan whispered. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The disruptors fired. The air rippled with invisible energy. The Verlecki guards dropped to their knees, screeching in pain. Ryan's team rushed forward, firing stun weapons. The guards fell, unconscious but alive. "Clear," Ryan called. "Get that ship open." 2 of his soldiers ran to the ship. They had studied Verlecki technology. They knew how to bypass the security systems. The ship's door slid open. Major Wells were in, moving to Phase 2. Inside the ship, Ryan's team worked quickly. They secured the controls, downloaded the navigation data, planted the human interface devices that Dr. Morris had created. "We've got company," one of the soldiers shouted. "Verlecki patrol returning." Ryan looked at the screens. A larger Verlecki ship was descending toward them. "How long?" he asked. 2 minutes, maybe less. Ryan made a quick decision. "Major Wells, change of plans. We're taking this ship now. Meet us at Rendezvous Point Beta." He turned to his pilot, a former Air Force captain. "Can you fly this thing?" The pilot looked at the alien controls, now modified with human interfaces. "I can try." Ryan hit his radio. "All teams fall back. We're taking off." The small ship's engines hummed to life. It rose shakily from the ground as the last team members jumped aboard. The door closed just as the Verlecki patrol ship opened fire. "Hold on!" the pilot shouted. The scout ship shot forward, dodging energy beams. It was faster than any human aircraft, more agile. The pilot laughed as he spun the ship around, avoiding another attack. "I could get used to this," he shouted. Ryan watched the screens as they left Earth's atmosphere. The Verlecki patrol ship followed for a while, then turned back. They had done it. They had stolen a Verlecki ship. "Set course for the moon," Ryan ordered. "Let's see what this thing can really do." In the underground command center, now hidden beneath the ruins of Chicago, Olivia Grant studied the data from the captured ship. She had been named Director of Verlecki Intelligence, responsible for understanding the enemy. "This is it," she said, to Sam Reeves. The location of their main fleet. Sam looked at the star map. Most of the Verlecki ships were gathered near Mars. "Why there?" he asked. "They're building something," Olivia said. "A permanent hunting base. If they finish it, they'll be able to bring in more ships, more hunters." Sam's face hardened. "Then, we don't let them finish it." He turned to Dr. Morris, who was working at another console. "Is the defense system ready?" Dr. Morris nodded. "We've placed transmitters around the globe. When activated, they'll create a planet-wide neural disruption field. It won't last long, maybe 10 minutes, but it should disable every Verlecki on and around Earth." "And the strike team?" "Captain Harris reports the ship is fully operational. They've learned how to fly it, how to use the weapons. Sam looked at
여섯, nita, 받았다. 이키, 보고 스타봉, 맥주보, 보았다보.
Then it's time, Sam said. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. Commander Zarthak stood on the bridge of his flagship. He watched as the construction of the hunting base continued near Mars. Soon, the greatest hunters from across the galaxy would come to this system. Earth would provide sport for generations. But something bothered him. The humans had grown too quiet in recent weeks. They still fought, still hunted his hunters. But their major attacks had stopped. They were planning something. Commander, his first officer called. We're detecting an energy surge from Earth. Zarthak turned. What kind of surge? Before the officer could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Vreliki warriors fell to their knees, clutching their heads. The neural interfaces in their armor were overloading, sending pain through their bodies. Zarthak fought against the pain. He had modified his own armor after the first human attacks, but even he felt the effects. Shut down all neural systems, he ordered. Switch to manual controls. But it was too late. Across his fleet, ships drifted out of formation as their crews struggled against the invisible attack. Commander, the first officer shouted. Human ships approaching. Zarthak looked at the screens. Hundreds of ships rose from Earth. They were human vessels modified with Vreliki technology, and leading them was a Vreliki scout ship, flying with impossible skill. Impossible, Zarthak whispered. The human fleet opened fire. They targeted the Vreliki ships with their own weapons, striking with precision. Explosions bloomed in space. As Vreliki vessels, their defenses down, were hit. Zarthak watched in disbelief. No prey had ever turned the hunt like this. No prey had ever become the hunter. Commander, his first officer said, recovering from the neural attack. The Council of Elders is calling. They demand to know what is happening. Zarthak looked at the communication screen. The eldest of his species glared at him. The humans, Zarthak began, they are not just prey, they are vermin, the elder interrupted. And you have failed to exterminate them. We are sending the extermination fleet. Earth will be cleansed of all life. Zarthak's eyes widened. No, that is not our way. The hunt has rules. Honor. The humans have proven themselves. The humans have proven that our ways must change, the elder said coldly. The hunt is over, Commander. Now comes extinction. The communication ended. Zarthak stood in silence, as around him, his fleet burned. The humans had won this battle. But the war was about to become something much worse. On the captured scout ship, Ryan Harris watched the Vreliki fleet falling into chaos. Earth ships swarmed around them, firing captured weapons. For the first time in 2 years, humans had the upper hand. Captain, his communications officer called. Colonel Reeves is ordering all ships to fall back to Earth. Fall back? Why? We're winning. New Vreliki ships detected at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of them. Ryan looked at his screens. The officer was right. A new fleet was coming. Larger, deadlier. All ships, he ordered. Return to Earth, the real fight is just beginning. The extermination fleet arrived 1 month later. Its ships were larger, darker, built not for hunting but for destroying. They took position around Earth, weapons ready. In the Chicago Command Center, Sam Reeves gathered Earth's leaders. The room was silent as they looked at images of the new threat. We hit them hard, Sam said, but now they want to wipe us out completely. No more hunting, just killing. Can we stop them? Someone asked. Sam looked at Diane Wells. She shook her head slightly. Not with the weapons we have now, Sam admitted, but we have something else, a plan. All eyes turned to Olivia Grant as she stood up. The Vreliki have rules, she said. Deep cultural rules they've followed for thousands of years. The elders are breaking those rules by ordering extermination. Not all Verlecki agree with this. Yuktai. Mean Commander Zarthak? Diane asked. Olivia nodded. He's reached out to us. Secretly. He believes the hunt should have honor. That humans have earned the right to be treated as equals, not prey. Sam took over. We also know the Verlecki aren't alone in the galaxy. They've hunted and enslaved dozens of species. Some of those species might help us if we can reach them. Doctor, Morris stood next. And we've developed a new weapon. Not to kill the Verlecki, but to take away their advantage. A biological agent that affects their combat reflexes without harming them permanently. So what's the plan? Asked Ryan Harris, who had joined the meeting after returning from space. Sam smiled grimly. We're taking the fight to them. To their homeworld. Admiral Diane Wells looked out from the bridge of Earth's new flagship, the Defiance. It had once been a Verlecki cruiser. Now it flew Earth's flag. Around it 50 other captured and converted ships prepared to enter the jump point that would take them to the Verlecki home system. All ships report ready, her first officer said. Diane nodded. Begin the jump sequence. This was humanity's most desperate gamble. While most of Earth's forces stayed behind to defend the planet, this small fleet would strike at the heart of the Verlecki Empire. The ships entered the jump point, the fabric of space twisting around them. When they emerged, they saw a red-orange planet surrounded by defense platforms and ships. We've been detected, the tactical officer reported. Verlecki ships moving to intercept. Launch Ryan's team, Diane ordered. All ships, defensive formation. From the Defiance, a small Verlecki scout ship shot toward the planet's surface. Captain Ryan Harris and his Special Forces team were aboard, along with their secret weapon. Good luck, Diane whispered, as the battle began around them. Ryan's ship dodged defense fire as it entered the Verlecki atmosphere. Their ship was broadcasting special codes provided by Commander Zarthak, helping them avoid the worst of the defenses. There, Ryan said, pointing to a massive structure below. The Great Hall of Trophies. According to Zarthak, this was the most sacred place in Verlecki culture, where the greatest hunters displayed their most valuable trophies, where the elders ruled. The ship landed in a quiet area behind the hall. Ryan led his team out, each carrying special weapons and the canisters containing Dr. Morris's biological agent. Remember, Ryan told them, we're not here to destroy. We're here to change the rules. They moved through the alien city, using stealth technology adapted from Verlecki armor. Few Verlecki remained in the city. Most had joined the extermination fleet at Earth. Inside the Great Hall, Ryan's team split up. Some planted the biological agent in the air systems. Others headed for the communication center. Ryan himself went to the trophy room where Zarthak had said they would find the Council of Elders. When Ryan entered the massive room, he stopped in shock. Thousands of preserved remains from hundreds of species lined the walls. Each trophy was labeled, honored in the Verlecki way, and at the center of the room a new display was being prepared. The label read, Human. The elders sat in a circle around the display. 7 ancient Verlecki, their scales dull with age, their eyes still sharp with hunger. They looked up as Ryan entered. Human, one said, surprised but not alarmed. You are far from your hunting ground. Ryan raised his weapon. Earth is not a hunting ground, and we are not prey. The elders laughed, a harsh clicking sound. All species are prey to the Verlecki. Not anymore, said a voice behind Ryan. Commander Zarthak entered the room, followed by several younger Verlecki warriors. He stood tall, his armor scarred from battles. The hunt has rules, Zarthak said to the elders. You taught us this. The humans have earned the right to be treated as equals. They have turned hunters into prey. They have shown courage and honor. They are vermin, the eldest elder hissed. And you are a traitor. Zarthak shook his head. I am a hunter, a true hunter, and I recognize worthy opponents when I see them. He turned to Ryan. Now. Ryan activated the device in his hand. Throughout the Great Hall, vents released Dr. Morris's agent into the air. The elders tried to stand but found their limbs suddenly slow. clumsy. "What have you done?" one demanded. "Change the game," Ryan said. "Your combat reflexes are now the same as ours. No advantage. Equal ground." Zarthak addressed the elders again. "The humans have allies now. The Krith, the Juraxians, the Mendari. All species your hunters have tormented for generations. They've formed a coalition against us." The main screen in the trophy room activated, showing the battle in space. The Earth fleet had been joined by ships of different designs. Together they were holding their own against the Vreliki defenders. "You have a choice," Ryan said to the elders. "End the hunt, join the galactic community as equals, or face extinction yourselves." 1 year later, Sam Reeves stood on a platform in Geneva, watching as the Galactic Concordat was signed. Representatives from 27 species, including the Vreliki, placed their marks on the document. Commander Zarthak, now Ambassador Zarthak, was the last to sign. He looked at Sam and nodded with respect. "The hunt is over," Zarthak said. "Now we build together." The document outlined the new laws. No hunting of sentient species, no slavery, no war without just cause. Earth had not just defended itself. It had changed the galaxy. Diane Wells, now General Wells, joined Sam on the platform. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" she asked. "When they first attacked?" Sam shook his head. "I just wanted humanity to survive. I never thought we'd unite, the galaxy." Beyond the signing platform, a new monument was unveiled. It showed figures of all shapes and sizes standing together. At its base, a simple plaque read, "They hunted the galaxy without fear until Earth fought back. Now we hunt no more." Olivia Grant, standing nearby with Ryan Harris, read the plaque and smiled. "Not bad for a species that was supposed to be just prey." Ryan took her hand. "We were never just prey, and now the whole galaxy knows it." Above them, ships from a dozen worlds moved peacefully in orbit around Earth, the planet that had taught the greatest hunters in the galaxy the meaning of fear, and in the end, the meaning of peace.